Now in this part we are going to discuss the other two very important measure of central tendency, that is median and geometric mean. Now you know that the location based average, we have just done one type, that is mode, and now within that location based average, the second one which we are going to discuss today is median. In our first lecture we also based mathematical base average, that is arithmetic mean, and location based average, that is mode. So location based average, the median is defined as it is it is that value which divides the whole observation into two equal parts. But for applying that, first of all we have to arrange the data in ascending order or in descending order, first of all. So once the data is arranged in ascending order or descending order, then median is nothing but the middlemost value which we have to take it up. So we have to take up the middlemost value. Now median for ungrouped data, first of all arrange all the data in ascending descending order. If the data set contains odd number of observation, that is n, then median is the central value, that is n plus 1 by 2. And if the observation is even, then it is the average of two central most values. Let's see. Let the time in second taken by pedestrian in crossing the road are 10, 11, 9, 12, 8, 30 and 7. And now if we just first of all arrange into ascending order, that is 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 and 30. Now here observation are in odd number. So in observation are in odd number. So what is the centralmost value? Either use the formula n plus 1 by 2, that is n is equal to 7 plus 1, 8 by 2 is the fourth value is 10. And otherwise if you can see it by data is small, you can do it yourself. Otherwise data is large, then if in place of this, these are only 7 values, if there are 70 values, then you cannot do like this. Then you have to use this formula n plus 1 by 2. Now similarly, now we add one more data into this, 14 is being added. So now it becomes even in number. So now the median is average of 10 plus 11 by 2, that is 10.5. So our median is 10.5. So the centralmost two values, in the case of even, we have to take the average of that. So centralmost value in these two are 10 and 11, and we know that how to find out the central values. Now for ungrouped frequency distribution, how to compute the median? For this type of data, first of all we have to calculate less than cumulative frequency. Once we calculate less than cumulative frequency, then we have to find out n by 2. What is capital N by 2? Capital N is nothing but sum of frequencies. Mind it, we are talking about ungrouped frequency distributions. Now from the cumulative frequency which you have created, find out that cumulative frequency which is just greater than this n by 2. Then the corresponding value of the variable of this cumulative frequency is declared as a median. That will be median. So simple. Let's see. Now time in second taken by 100 pedestrian for crossing a road is given. Find out median. So time taken seconds, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 seconds. And number of pedestrian, 100 pedestrians are distributed like 4, 5, 10, 40, 21, 10, 6 and 4. So capital N is 100. So first of all we have to create cumulative frequency distribution. So cumulative frequency distribution is 4, 5 plus 4, 9, 9 plus 10, 19, 19 plus 40, 59, 59 plus 21, 80, then 19, then 96 and 100. So our capital N is 100. So N by 2 is 50. So find out from this cumulative frequency which is just greater than this value 50. So out of this is 59. So 59 is just greater than 50. So the corresponding to this 59 observation, that is 11. So 11 second is the median. So we can say for this ungrouped frequency distribution data that time taken second, the 11 second is the median for this value. This is so simple to compute it, not much more mathematical mathematics is required in doing that. Now next is group frequency distribution. Again the procedure almost same. So first of all, again calculate less than cumulative frequency and then find out N by 2. You know N, capital N is sum of frequencies. Now for again from the less than cumulative frequency which you have created, find out the cumulative frequency which is just greater than N by 2 as we have done earlier. Now the corresponding class to this cumulative frequency is called median class, and now we calculate median by using this median class. So using this formula, that is L plus H by F multiplied by N by 2 minus C. So L is the lower limit of median class, H is the magnitude of median class, F is the frequency of median class, and C is the cumulative frequency of the class preceding the median class. So C is cumulative frequency of class preceding median class. So this is also again very simple method. Let the daily expenditure in rupees on transportation given by 50 families is as follows. So compute median. So rupees are 20, 30, 30, 40, 40, 50, 50, 60 and 60, 70, and there are 50 families data is being given to us. So first of all we compute the less than cumulative frequency. Less than cumulative 4, 10, 30, 45 and 50. Now that what we have to do, we have to compute capital N by 2, that is this 50 by 2, 50 by 2 is what? 25. Now from this 25 we will go to the less than cumulative frequency distribution. So here which value is just bigger than 25, that is 30. So in this case median class is 40 to 50. So what is the lower limit of the median class? 40. What is the magnitude of this class? 10. And what is the frequency of this class? 20. And what is the C, capital C? That is cumulative frequency preceding this median class. What is that? 10. So median is 40 plus 10 divided by 20, 25 minus 10 is equal to 47.5. So 47.5 divides the whole data. We can also calculate median graphically, that is we can plot less than cumulative frequency curve, as well as we can also draw more than cumulative frequency curve, and on that graph the intersection of these 2 points, less than cumulative frequency and more than cumulative frequency, so the intersection of these two, you just draw a line here, this value will be the median. It is very simple that you can draw the median directly from here once you draw the cumulative frequency curve. So directly you can get it from there. Now for qualitative data, median can also be computed. Let the performance of an athlete appeared in 3 competitions is good, bad and normal. Now first of all arrange the data in order, good, normal and bad. So which one is the most middle value? Middlemost value is normal. So we can say for this qualitative data the median is normal. Now what are the advantages and disadvantages of median? The number one advantage is it is very easy to calculate. very easy to understand. That is the first one. Second one is it can be calculated for a distribution with open-end classes with arithmetic mean, which we cannot do that. Next advantage is not affected by extreme observation, which arithmetic mean was. And next advantage is useful when comparing sets of data. Median is less sensitive to outlier. So whatever the outlier is, it doesn't play much importance, because median is which one is occurring maximum number of time. Sorry, that is a mode. Median is we divide the whole data into two equal parts. That's it. That is a less sensitive to outliers. It can also be used for qualitative data. Now disadvantage, not as popular as mean. Next is every value is not contributing a calculated median. They are only a positional value, not capable for further mathematical treatment. We cannot do any mathematical treatment, but it is affected by sampling fluctuation. There is a lot of sampling fluctuation is there, so number time median will be different. There is nothing new in that. Now just compare mean, median and mode. That will clear you the picture. Now price of movie tickets in different cinema halls of two different cities. In city 1 there is a 11 cinema halls, and city 2 there are only 10 cinema halls. So just see that in city 1 first cinema hall ticket is 100 rupees, second cinema hall 200 rupees, third and fourth are the same 300 rupees, 5 is 500 rupees, 6 is 600 rupees, 7 700, 800, 900 and 1100. But the 11th cinema hall is excellent. Just see, you know, maybe you know that in NCR there are so many cinema halls, and where the seats are so luxurious that you can easily relax, and they will also provide you the food also in lunch time. That is luxurious. There are very few seats are there. That is the last row. Normally in that cinema hall, that ticket is really very high for that class. Just try to find out what are those cinema halls which are having such a luxurious seating. And city 2 where the 10 cinema halls are having ticket rate from 100 to 1000. So first of all we have find out the mean for city 1. The mean works out to be 963, approximately 964 rupees, and city 2 550 rupees, and median is in city 1 600 rupees, and in city 2 median is 550 rupees, and city 1 board is 300 rupees, and city 2 it cannot be computed. So here we can say these three measures convey a different story. Now in a mean, the big difference in the mean is due to only one outlier, that is this one outlier, 5100 rupees ticket, and due to that the whole mean is being disturbed. But median is not affected by the outlier, so median is almost same, that is 600 and 550 rupees. So this is the difference between mean and median. While mode in the first is 300 because it is appearing 2 times, but in city 2 no one is repeating, no value is repeating, so we cannot find out a mode, or you can say there are 10 modes, each value is a mode itself. So that's how we can compare. That is a mathematical measurement of central tendency and locational measurement of central tendency, median and mode. Now there is an extension of median, that is partition. Median divides the whole population into 2 equal parts. Partition values divide the whole data into several parts. They can divide the data into 1 by 4, 50%, and third by 3 by 4. Or you can divide the data 1 by 10, 2 by 10 ratio, 9 by 10 ratio, or in the ratio 1:100, 2:100, or 99 by 100 parts. So first one, when you divide the data 25% to 75%, that is known as this category of partition known as quartiles. So quartiles divide the data set into 4 equal parts, and is being denoted by Q1. That is Q1 is the first quartile. We will divide the whole data set 25% to 75%, and Q2 is nothing but a median. We divide the whole population data into 50% to 50%, and Q3, the third quartile, we divide the ratio into 75% to 25% respectively. So Q1 is known as lower quartile, Q3 is known as upper quartile, and middle quartile Q2 is nothing but a median. So if you divide the data into 25 to 50, 50 to 75, 75 to 100, that is a 4 parts. Otherwise we can present the data into 3 quartiles. Similarly, deciles and percentiles. Decile divides the whole data in 10 equal parts, and percentile divide the whole set of data into 100 equal parts. Now we'll see how I can compute it. Formula is almost same for all the partition value. Now for computing ith quartile, again formula is same. Calculate the less than cumulative frequency. Then compute I times n by 4. Ith quartile I times n by 4, and is the sum of total frequency. In medium I was not there, and it is n by 2. So now after computing I n by 4, now from the cumulative frequency table, you just find out which cumulative frequency is just greater than I times n by 4. And then the corresponding class of this cumulative frequency is called quartile class, and that quartile class will use it for in this formula. So Q1, if we are adding Ky is equal to L is what? Lower limit of quartile class. H is what? Magnitude of quartile class. F is the corresponding frequency of quartile class, and C is the cumulative frequency preceding quartile class. So by putting this formula, Q1 will get n by 4, and when put Q2, that is median, that become n by 2 in this value. Other value are same, and Q3, so it is 3 times n by 4. So the median formula and all this quartile formula are same. We can calculate median as well as this values also. Similarly, decile, everything is same. Now in the formula decile, we are computing I times n by 10. Previously we do I times n by 4, in decile I times n by 10. And in percentiles is nothing but I by 100. Mind it, I by 100. Everything is same. So what is the relation between quartile, decile and percentile? Q2 is equal to D5. That is 5th decile. It is also equal to 50th percentile, and that is nothing but equal to median. Similarly, first quartile Q1 is equal to P25. There is no equivalent to decile. So only Q1 and P25 are related. And similarly, Q3 is equal to P75. Similarly, D1 is equal to P10, not equal to Q, and D2 equal to P20, D3 is equal to P30, and D9 is equal to P90. So depending upon your scope of exercise, depending upon application. So which method you are going to use it, quartiles, median, deciles or percentile, that you have to decide depending upon the scope of the exercise. Now calculate Q1, Q3, D3 and P70. Now daily expenditure on transportation, the same problem. Number of families, 50. So first of all we have to compute less than cumulative frequency, that is 4, 10, 30, 45 and 50. So again using the formula, for Q1 we require n by 4. n by 4 is 50 by 4. So 50 by 4 is 12, 12.5. So cumulative frequency less than 12.5 is 10. So I picked up 10. The formula for Q1 is 40 plus 10 by 20, 12.5 minus 10. So it works out to be 41.25. Similarly for Q3, we require 3 times n by 4, that is that is nothing but 150 by 4, 37.5. So from 37.5, which class interval is more? 45. So quartile class is 50 to 60. That is this 50 to 60 corresponding to 45, 50 to 60. So Q3 is equal to 50 plus 10 by 15, 37.5 minus 30, it becomes 55. Similarly for D3, we require 3 times n by 10, that is equal to 15. So 15, 30 is more than 15. So our decile class will be 40 to 50. So decile is 40 to 50. So D3 works out to be 42.5. Similarly, we can compute P70. So that's how we can compute out the values. Now summary of that. We know that in a nominal, ordinal, interval and ratio type of data, we have done it. Which one is doing what? Only thing is the ratio is having actual 0, interval not. And we also done what is the nominal and ordinal. So summaries for with respect to mean, median, mode is the order of values known. In nominal data there is no order, but ordinal data, yes, we can put in the order. Interval data we can put into order. Ratio data we can put into order. Frequency, yes, will be there in nominal also, but that will also be there for ordinal, interval and ratio data. So mean is not possible for nominal and ordinal data because it is related with the qualitative phenomena. Now interval and ratio, yes, we can compute it. Similarly median, for nominal data, that is we are not arranging it, we are not in position to arrange the nominal data, so median cannot be found. But ordinal data we can arrange in ascending or descending type of that is very good, so, poor, very poor. So in ordinal we can arrange, so median is so. So interval and ratio data, yes, we can arrange it, so median can be found. Now mode, that is nominal, that which one value is appearing maximum, yes, we can find out. But ordinal, yes, and interval ratio, yes, you can do that. Can quantify the difference between each values? In nominal, ordinal, no, that is not possible. Even your rank, you cannot say that this is 50% ahead of that or 10% less than that. We can't. There's interval or ratio, yes, we can quantify the difference. Can we add or subtract the values? In nominal, ordinal, no. Interval, yes, and ratio, yes. Can we multiply and divide? Nominal not possible, ordinal not possible, interval also not possible due to that 0. It's not at the exact actual 0 value in that. Has true 0, nominal has no true 0, ordinal has no true 0, interval has no true 0. Due to that, interval fails to cannot be used for multiplication and division. But ratio Yes, it can be used for all type of that. So this 4 type of data which we have done it, we can do what we can do with that. We can do it. We can understand very easily from this summary table. Frequency distribution table we can create for all the 4 values, as well as mode we can compute for all the 4 categories. But rest of thing we cannot do that. Rest of thing there are exceptions are there. Now our location based averages are over, median and mode. Now we will focus on mathematical base average. So in a mathematical base average, we have already done arithmetic mean. So next one of this category is geometric mean. What is a geometric mean? It is nothing but a type of a central tendency which is usually used for calculating rate of growth, population growth, interest rate. For that purpose we are using geometric mean. We can also use for the construction of index number, and is only defined for positive number. This is the one of the issues with geometric mean, and is very useful for business, economics and biological application. Let's see what is the formula for that. For 2 positive number x1 and x2 or observation, the geometric mean is x1 multiplied by x2 raised to power 1 by 2. That is under root of x1 multiplied by x2. And for n observation, x1 multiplied by x2 multiplied by xn raised to power 1 by n. And what is raised to power 1 by n? So taking log on both the sides. So log of geometric mean is 1 by n plus 1 by n plus log x1 plus log x2 plus log xn, and nothing but 1 by n summation of I is going from 1 to n log xi, and geometric mean is anti-log of this value. So here log is required because the power curves are there, power values are there. And for group data we are having the capital N, and for n group we are having small n. It is a capital N. What is capital N? Sum of all the frequency f1 plus f2 plus fn, and values x raised to power f1, x2 raised to power f2, xn raised to power fn. Just see how the big value will be. Now summing up, now taking the log on both sides, 1 by n, f1 log x1, f2 log x2 plus fn log xn. That is 1 by capital N, summation is going from I is going 1 to n, fi log xi. So geometric mean is anti-log 1 by n, sum of I is going to 1 to n, fi log xi. So in this way we can find out for the geometric mean for group frequency distribution. Now let's find out this. We'll use this formula for calculating geometric mean. Now in a city, the noise level is being given. So what is the geometric mean? So noise level is given and number of streets are given. So noise level from 40 to 50 there are 5 streets, 50 to 60 there are 11 streets, from 60 to 70 there are 18 streets, from 70 to 80 there are 3 streets, and 80 to 90 2 streets. So we have only 39 streets. And first of all we have to calculate midpoints. I have calculated midpoints here itself in the problem. So midpoint is being calculated. So midpoint is calculated. So then we have to log xi, we have to find out log xi. Log of 45 is 1.6532. Log of 55 is 1.7404. Log of 65 is 1.8129. Log of 75 is 1.8751. And log of 85 is 1.9294. And now we compute fi log xi, that this column versus this column. So we calculated, and the sum up works out to be 69.5267. So geometric mean is anti-log of 69.5267 divided by capital N, that is 39. So it is anti-log of 1.7827, that is 60.63. So geometric mean is 60.63. 0.63 decibel for that city. What is the use of geometric mean? Normally we are using in the election also, because if the election we are saying what is the trend which is going on, how the growth is coming from which sector, or the voter approval rate, and what is the how that campaign the measure wants to see where are the changes are coming. So I am not interested into this example. Role of geometric mean is very important in studying while we are doing economic growth and population growth, etc. In this situation we are dealing with value that changes as time period changes, and changes are directly proportional to the value itself. These are changes are being done with respect to that value itself. So similarly, geometric mean has an importance while we are dealing with an averages of ratios. So the rate is gained, ratio is being computed, the rates are being changed. So then it is the averages of ratio. Now what is the growth? We have done geometric mean. The small extension of the geometric mean is the growth. What means the growth? Which we are not using geometric mean, then we are using the growth formula. Normally we are using that. Growth means change in value between two time periods. Mind it. Within the two time periods. If the change increases, then it is called positive growth rate. If it is decreasing, then it is known as negative growth rate. The easiest way to measure the growth rate is as the change in the value during that period as a percentage of value in the start of the period. So what are the percentage is being changed, then whatsoever the total change is being done is the form of a percentage value. Let's see. The growth rate formula we already know. What is the P? PA. PA is the value at period A and PB is the value at period B. Mind it, B must be greater than A. Not greater than equal to, greater than A. So growth rate is given by PB minus PA divided by PA multiplied by 100. So let the population of the country in 1971 is 548 million. In 1981 it is 683 million. So what is the population growth rate? P81 minus P71 divided by P70 multiplied by 100. Works out to be 24.63%. So it is also called percentage changes. If the percentage changes is calculated for population between two census date, the difference 10 years, then it is declared as a decadal or intercensus growth rate. Because we are making the growth, we are measuring the changes on the basis of number of years, 10 years. So it is a decadal growth rate, not 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year. If 1 year, every year we are finding out, then yes, it is a percentage change. But for 10 years, to 10 years, it is decadal or intercensus growth. Now for same period of length, the percentage changes can be compared. But if time periods are different, then it has to be converted into first of all into same scale. Let it consider on the basis of annual growth rate. Now the intercensus growth rate is to be divided by the time interval and to make it an annual growth rate. So what is the annual growth rate? So we have to calculate on that basis. So what is the R? Rate of growth. So this R gives us annual growth rate. Mind you, that is decadal growth rate given by the formula PB minus PA divided PA. Only both divisions should be done, B minus A multiplied by 100. Only the difference is that decadal difference is there. So annual growth rate, up to now we have done decadal growth rate. Now this is the same formula we are using for annual growth rate, but we don't have the data. From decadal growth rate we are trying to find out annual growth rate. So P80 minus P70, P70 multiply by 81 minus 71, and overall multiply by 100. So works out to be 683 minus 548 divided by 548 multiply by 10, and whole multiply by 100. So the growth rate works out to be 0.02463. So we can say we are able to get the rate of growth, and from this one can estimate the values for the future year, assuming that this will be the growth rate. So multiply by 100, it will go to 2.4 percentage growth rate is there. So annual growth rate is 2.463, and now by using this formula we can calculate the growth rate of other years. So we are having P71 to P81, and we try to use it the same formula, 2.463 growth rate. We are assuming into that. The formula is PC is equal to 1 plus R into C minus B by 100 by PB. So therefore population of 1991, mind it, first of all we have computed the growth rate between 71 to 81. Then from 71 to 81 data we are computing the annual growth rate. Now we are using that annual growth rate to compute for 1991 data. That works out to be P91 is equal to 1 plus 2.463 multiplied 91 minus 81 by P81 divided by 100. It works out to be 851.22. So the population for P81, that is 1981 for India is 683, and for 1991 it works out to be 851, approximately 851 millions. So that's how the data we can use the growth rate. So now if this R we are using for subsequent year, then every time base year will change for subsequent years estimation, and this may raise a discrepancy because base year will change, so it will mathematically it will be a wrong solution. So in this situation the compound interest formula is more appropriate, which is called geometric growth rate. Understand what does geometric mean? So here we are also using geometric growth rate, because here we are using a compound interest rate formula. So PB is equal to PA to 1 plus R raised to power B minus A. So R is a geometric growth rate, PA is the value of the time period A, and PB is the value at the time period B, and B must be greater than A. So for calculating R, very simple, take the log on both the side. So R works out to be, that is, what is our geometric growth rate? Previous one arithmetic growth rate, now it is geometric growth rate. So R is equal to anti-log log PB minus log PA divided by B minus A minus 1. So that's how we can compute the geometric growth rate. So simple, not a tough thing. The only thing is the understanding. Now for the above example which you have done it, we are using what? Arithmetic growth rate. Now but we are supposed to compute what we call, just remember, geometric growth rate. So geometric growth rate we find out, anti-log is 1 by 10 log 683 minus log 548 is equal to 1.022 minus 1, that is 0.22. So geometric growth rate is you can say 2.2%, and there what it was 2.463%, 2.463% arithmetic growth, and the geometric growth works out to be, you can say, 2.2% very easily. So assuming the same geometric growth rate formula, now again for 91 population we are going to compute it. So 81 population 683 plus 1 plus R 0.022 raised power 10 years, that is 1991 minus 1981. So works out to be 848. So P91 population is 848, and previously what we are able to get it 851, and it is 848. You can say it seems to be, but we are talking in millions, dear million. That's how the difference is so big. So that's how we can say the difference between the two growth rate. So one should use only geometric growth rate while you are going to talk of the population growth formula. If in the same formula compounding is done instantly, then the formula is called exponential rate of growth. So and it is given by PB is equal to PA into e raised power RB by A, and R is the same as we explained. Now it is the exponential rate of growth. Previously we were taking geometric rate of growth, and previously before that arithmetical rate of growth. So three type of R we have discussed. So to compute R, taking log on both sides, log E, log P to the base E, and similarly log PA to the base E plus R minus B minus A. So R works out to be 1 over B minus A. We call log E, we have to convert into log 10, base to the base 10. So log 10 PB by PA log E to the base 10, and log E to the base 10 is 0.4343. So the approximation to the formula, that is an annual growth rate, works out to be 1 over B minus A into twice PB minus PA into PB plus PA multiplied by 100. So using this formula, we can say the value works out to be 2.193%. Just see three formulas are giving different. Arithmetical different, geometric different, and exponential is giving us 2.193%. Now we know the rate of growth, so we can easily calculate that how many years we require to double our population. If our land allows, if our resources allows, that is a separate question. I am not going into, I am only talking mathematical format. So that's how we can just compare three different growth rates, and these three different growth rates are being used in different situations. So using exponential area growth formula, PB is equal to PA into e raised to power R plus R to B minus A, and we want to calculate when PB is equal to twice PA for given value of R. So very simple, we put it the values into that. 2PA is equal to PA, we have to find out e to R, e raised to power R into B minus A. So taking log both on sides. So number of years in the form of B minus A. So how many number of years we require to double into that? That is B minus A is equal to log 2 to the base R and 0.7 divided by R. So number of years required to double the value, and see if R is equal to 2.193, then in this case we require 31 years, approximately 32 years, 31.91 years to double the population. So by using this formula, once we know the rate of growth of this, because for this rate of growth you can also calculate by the geometric rate of growth, you can also calculate by using arithmetic growth rate, and then find out how many years it will be. We require to double our population. So that's how that the planner, the future planner can think of that. I hope that housing people, transport people and urban planning people, they may give a thought of that what is the rate of growth of our population, what is the rate of growth of industry, what is the rate of growth of urbanization is coming, that whatsoever the plan you are making it, that plan will sustain up to how many years. Just see with the 30 years, if its population is going to change. So today you are proposing 1 lakh houses, so mind it, it will take 5 years to make your 1 lakh houses, then how many years are left? So requirement will be much more. So that's why we are not using in a planning. There's different type of growth rate. We don't know how to forecast properly. If forecasting is done properly, then definitely planning can be done more accurately. The very simple example, that is the Britishers who designed New Delhi is still surviving even if such a population growth is there. But whatsoever we have designed, that is immediately saturated within a 5 to 10 years. This is the difference. That if we are able to forecast properly, we are able to use the growth formulas properly, then it is very easy to predict when and what is going to happen. That is the most important point. Next is let R1, R2, R and R percentage growth rate per unit per period. For n time period, then average percentage growth rate over n period is given by 100 plus R1 multiply by 100 plus R2 and go on multiply by 100 plus Rn and the whole multiplication divided by 1 by n and minus 100. Then similarly value after n time periods, Pa plus n, the formula is Pa into 1 plus R1 plus R2 multiplied by 1 plus Rn. And if rate of growth is same, if R1 is equal to R2 is equal to Rn, then it implies Pa plus n is nothing but is equal to Pa multiplied by 1 plus Rn. So this is nothing but our compound interest formula. Just think of that. If we go on estimating the population growth and other growth, such a huge, how many of you were trying to fit the curves? Yes, for some cases curve fitting is the answer, but for other cases which formula has to be used, here you have to use your brain, that which one gives us the best results, which can give us the, we have to play a safe game so that we can accommodate whatsoever the planning we are doing it, at least it should be able to sustain for 50 years. Now take a question. Let the rate of increase of individual growth during the last 3 decades are 15%, 20% and 25%. Then what is the average rate of growth during the last 3 decades? If you just remember that one of the discussion I have shown you that in last 30 years from 1991 to 2021, how the incomes are increased. At the same time, the rates of other commodity has not increased with the same rate as the income has increased. So you can say it is a industrial growth. That's why they are able to give the more payment or more salaries. So we have to find out what is the average rate of growth in the last 3 decades. Now for this, geometric mean is more appropriate. So average rate of growth is 15%, 20%, 25%. So growth at the end of decade xi is 150, 120 and 125. And we have to take log xi 2.06, 2.07 and 2.09. So geometric mean is equal to anti-log of 6.2368 divided by 3, that is equal to 120. So we can say very safely the average percentage increase in growth in last 3 decades is 20%. At the rate of 20% growth is coming up. So that's how mathematically we can go on calculating the values. Next one is weighted geometric mean. We are done. You remember that weighted arithmetic mean. On the same line, there is a weighted geometric mean. It is given by x1 raised to power w1 multiplied by xn raised to power wn and all are raised to power 1 by capital N. Now we take the log on the both side and then take the anti-log. So geometric mean, weighted geometric mean works out to be sum of I is going to 1 to n wi log xi. Some I is going from 1 to n wi. So where wi are the weights corresponding to observation xi, how much weight you have given it. So what are the advantage and disadvantage of this? In geometric mean, it is calculated using all the values of given data. The second advantage, further mathematical treatment can be applied. Third one is not much affected by sampling fluctuation, because you see it also here the value are increasing in very high proportions, and it is very useful in studying economic and population growth. And disadvantages are, if any data value is 0, then everything becomes 0. If any observation is missing or open-end classes are there, it cannot be calculated. But definitely is affected by extreme values. So extreme value has a lot of impact on that. That's what say that the difference between a location based averages and mathematical based averages. So I hope that it is the idea is clear to you, that median and the geometric mean. And so we are able to complete our location based measurement, and also two mean and median and geometric mean today we have discussed. That is a mathematical base of calculation. So only mean and geometric mean we have calculated, which are mathematical base, and median and mode are location based. So those averages we are able to conclude it today, and only we are left now the last one, the mathematical averages are mathematical central tendency is harmonic mean, that will be taken in the next class. Okay, thank you very much. Thanks a lot.